Hey everyone, is HR prepared? Well, we are on segment 3 with Workforce TV, and we are going to discuss about a question that may be uncomfortable for some organizations, but it is a question worth asking. Are minimum qualifications based on demonstrated job needs, or are they based on legacy standards? So at first glance, minimum qualification seems straightforward. They help define who is eligible to apply, and they establish baseline expectations. They provide consistency, and they help organizations identify candidates who may be capable of performing the work. But what if we pause for a moment and ask a deeper question? How do we know those qualifications are still necessary today? Not yesterday, not 10 years ago, I mean today. Because many qualification standards have existed for years. And, HR leaders, you guys know about it. And probably sometimes decades. And over time, requirements can become accepted simply because, they've always been there. So not because they were recently validated, not because they were recently analyzed, not because they were recently tested against operational reality, but because they became part of the system. So, and that creates an important workforce question. Are minimum qualifications based on demonstrated job needs? Or are they based on inherited assumptions? Think about that for a moment. How many qualification requirements were originally established because they're, reflected the actual work at that time? And how many continue to exist simply because no one has challenged whether they are still relevant? This is where job analysis becomes incredibly important. A job analysis asks a simple question: what knowledge, skills, abilities, competencies, and experience are actually required to successfully perform this work? Not what was required 10, 20 years ago, not what sounds impressive, not what feels traditional, what is actually required today. And once that question is answered, organizations can begin evaluating whether their qualification standards truly align with operational reality. For example, if a position requires 5 years of experience, how was that number determined? Why not 4 years? Why not 3? Why not 6? Was the requirement supported by data? Was it supported by performance outcomes? Was it supported by competency validation, or was it inherited from a prior classification and never revisited? These are fair questions, and they are becoming increasingly important because today's workforce is changing rapidly. Technology is changing, industries are changing, learning pathways are changing, and people are acquiring knowledge in ways that they did not exist a decade ago. And some may gain highly relevant experience through project-based work, like with students. our military, for example, firefighters, law enforcement. Someone may gain expertise through, like I said, military service. Some may gain advanced skills through certifications, industry programs, or emerging workforce pathways. Yet, in some situations, those experiences may not be recognized because they do not fit traditional qualification models. And that raises another important question. Could alternative pathways demonstrate readiness just as effectively? Notice I did not say lower standards, okay? I said alternative pathways because readiness and capability are not always measured by a single route. The objective is not to reduce the quality. The objective is to identify quality accurately. There's a difference. Organizations want capable employees, of course. They want applicants want fair opportunities, and both goals can exist at the same time. So that is why competency reviews are so important. It is imperative. Competency reviews focus on what a person can actually do. Can they solve problems? Can they communicate effectively? Can they analyze information? Can they perform the essential functions of the position? Can they adapt to changing environments? Can they demonstrate the competencies required for success? Those questions often tell us far more about future performance than assumptions alone. And then there is a practical validation, right? Practical validation asks another important question. Have we tested whether our qualification standards predict success? Because every requirement creates a gate. Every gate allows some people through, and every gate keeps some people out. And that's the truth. The question organizations should ask is, are we confident that the gates we built are measuring what truly matters? Because if a requirement cannot be connected to demonstrated business necessity, competency needs operational outcomes or validated performance expectations, then it may be worth re-examining. Again, this is not criticism, okay? It is about curiosity. It is about continuous improvement. It is about ensuring that workforce systems evolve alongside workforce realities and make it fair for all the applicants, all the candidates. And perhaps the most important question of all is this. If we are creating this position today for the very first time, knowing everything we know now, would we establish the exact same minimum qualifications? Or would we design them differently? That question alone can reveal a great deal, because if we do it, of course, we will be designing it differently. I can look at the minimum qualifications right now, and then I bet you it will definitely change. It will be redesigned. So, because sometimes, the strongest workforce systems are not the ones that remain unchanged. They are the ones willing to evolve when evidence supports change. The organization that ask these questions are not weakening the standards. They are strengthening confidence in their standards. They are demonstrating that qualifications are connected to actual job needs. So that requirements are supported by analysis, that expectations are grounded in evidence, and that workforce decisions are aligned with operational reality. So As we conclude today's discussion, I would leave you with this question. When applicants look at your minimum qualifications, are they seeing requirements that reflect demonstrated job needs? Or are they seeing standards that simply survive the passage of time? Because in today's workforce environment, the distinction matters more than ever. So anyways, thank you for joining me and listening. And this is another segment of Is HR Prepared? And remember, the goal is not to ask whether standards exist. The goal is to ask whether those standards still make sense. And for HR leaders, we are, I know we conduct our business fairly, but sometimes we have to look back, and especially with AI, and individuals are learning fast. So don't forget to check the date when your minimum qualifications or your job specifications were being updated. Thank you all. And I'm Maribel, founder of Government Workforce Network. Thank you.